it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's a very good evening, Zimbabwe. It is a Monday, meaning that it's our review show. We go through the weekend as it was. And locally, there was big news coming out of the National Sports Stadium. Unfortunately, it's of a negative variety because FC Platinum left themselves with a huge mountain to climb in their bid to qualify for the group stages of the CAF Confederations Cup after they fell to visiting Senegalese side ASC Giraffe in the competition's playoff first leg match at the National Sports Stadium yesterday. In the studio, or the virtual studio, Mike Madoda, Chris Midzi, Sean Tafirenyika, our producer. We've got, of course, Tatenda Ziambi. He's doing all the machining on our digital platforms, and my name is Barry Manandi. It takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to run ZiFM Sport, and we're proud of everyone who's involved in this effort. Hopefully you are too.
We have international sports news for you. We'll take you around the world in 60, starting off in Melbourne, where Rafael Nadal stayed on course for a record-breaking 21st Grand Slam title after sweeping aside Fabio Fognini to reach his 13th Australian Open quarter-final. In Dublin, Ireland's Six Nations title aspirations were prematurely ended as France underlined their status as tournament favourites by grinding out a 15-13 win. And we'll touch down in Colorado, where Nikola Jokic had 23 points, 16 rebounds and 10 assists as the host Denver Nuggets beat the LA Lakers 122-105.
And today being a Monday, it means that we've got the Castle World Football Report kicking off on the continent with CAF Champions League action, where AS Vita Club coach Florent Ibenge conceded Simba Sports Club deserved to beat his team in the first group match. In the Premier League, Leicester City boss Brendan Rodgers says he was delighted with the manner of the Foxes' 3-1 victory over Liverpool on Saturday. In Italy, Internazionale's Romelu Lukaku scored twice and set up another goal as they beat visitors Lazio 3-1 to move a point above AC Milan at the top of the Serie A standings. And we also have updates from La Liga and the German Bundesliga.
Always kicking off the show in the way that it ought to be is our power play. Today's Manic Monday. This one's from Gwen Stefani, and in truth it's very appropriate because she says, let me reintroduce myself, and she absolutely needs to.
How is it, guys? Elvis Tibula Bomba Moyo, WPF.
This is the bomb.
All Africa heavyweight champion 2-time. You are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Remember, we're going to be talking FC Platinum, and we want to hear from you on our social media handles at ZiFM Sport. What are your thoughts on the performance by FC Platinum, pure platinum play yesterday at the National Sports Stadium? We'll be getting into that straight after a local sports news roundup.
The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Your local sports news roundup starts with netball news, where Zimbabwe Gems captain Felistus Kwangwa made her debut for Surrey Storm in England's Netball Super League on Saturday. Kwangwa, who plays goal defence, helped her side to a thrilling 42-40 win over London Pulse in the first match of the weekend. Surrey Storm were, however, unable to complete a weekend double of victories as they were beaten 53-41 by Saracens Mavericks yesterday. Kwangwa's team will be back in action on Sunday when they face Leeds Rhinos netball. In Paralympic news, Youth, Sports, Arts and Recreation Minister Kirsty Coventry has commended the Paralympic team for flying the country's flag high at the World Para Grand Prix in Dubai. Following the impressive performances, Albert Singele, Pamela Vimbai Shumba and Margaret Banga Jenam qualified for the Tokyo 2021 Paralympics in August. In total, Team Zimbabwe won 7 medals, 1 silver and 6 bronze. The Zimbabwean delegation returned home yesterday accompanied by Sports Deputy Minister Tino Machakaire. We wrap it up with cricket news, where despite prematurely ending their national women's cricket tour last week due to departure flight complications, the Pakistan Cricket Board has confirmed that their men's side's tour of Zimbabwe for 2 test matches and 3 T20 internationals in April will go ahead as originally planned. The PCB said the Zimbabwe tour will take place soon after their April tour of South Africa, during which they'll play 3 ICC Men's Cricket World Cup Super League matches.
Hi, I'm Warriors coach Zdravko Logarušić and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Sports with a difference. Z. The beating drum. The roaring fans. Take a ride on the wild side with the Africa Report on ZiFM Sport.
We told you about how you can correspond, as they used to say in the old days, with the show on at ZiFM Sport across all social media handles. Our personal handles are also available to you at Mike Madoda, at Chris Meadsy, at Shonta Nyika, and at Barry Manandi. Get in touch with us and let us know your thoughts. We're talking pure platinum play, and FC Platinum went down at the NSS yesterday. They left themselves with a huge mountain to climb in their bid to qualify for the group stages of the CAF Confederations Cup after they fell to visiting Senegalese side ASC Giraffe in the competition's play-off first leg match at the National Sports Stadium yesterday. Albert Dienne's tap-in on the 70th minute was all the visitors needed to record the crucial away win ahead of the second leg in Dakar at the weekend. Let's get the post-match thoughts of FC Platinum coach Norman Mapeza.
Yeah, look, it was a good game of football. I think the guys did very well. If you look at our performance, especially in the first half, it was really good. Going to the second half, we decided to have some fresh legs. Then and those guys we brought in the second half, I think they did very well. Unfortunately, we ended up losing the game, but I think the guys did very well. There are so many factors to consider when we talk of yesterday's game. Look, we have the guys haven't been playing football for nearly a year now, and I thought maybe we didn't have the sharpness which we needed in yesterday's game. Was for you to convert those chances which you had yesterday, you need to be committing week in, week out. So I think for us, for the boys not having been playing football for quite some time, it was going to be very difficult. It was going to be very difficult for us, but I think it was something positive to talk about because we created those chances. I think if our league was going to be on, I think we're going to have the goals we're looking for in the first leg.
Z.
Mikey, you got to say to yourself that on the balance of play, FC Platinum deserved to be far and away have made this game safe a long way before the 70th minute when they fell to that almost sucker punch goal by ASC Giraffe, but their profligacy in front of goal cost them.
Yeah, absolutely. They had a few decent look-ins, and they should have taken at least one or a couple heading into the break. The most notable chance that they missed was a penalty that was fluffed by Silas Songani. And when you get a penalty at this level of competition, you should be able to stick it into the back of the net. But it was a tame effort, and it was saved by the Giraffe goalkeeper. What we saw, Barry, was an FC Platinum side that was thoroughly dominant, especially in the first half. But as the game wore on, you got the sense that Giraffe became more and more comfortable. They were able to set themselves up very well, set their stall up very well defensively. And though FC Platinum had the possession, Giraffe, as the game wore on, wasn't troubled that much until when FC Platinum was actually chasing the game. When they upped the intensity in the second half, we saw that Giraffe was troubled, and it therefore begs the question why FC Platinum didn't start off with that level of intensity that we saw them employ in the second half. It was baffling for me, and it's the one thing that has baffled me about FC Platinum's performances, first of all in the CAF Champions League and now in the Confederations Cup, why they have been quite pedantic and slow in their build-ups, because it's almost meant that the teams that they should have been put into the sword, or the teams that they should have been comfortably beating, they have just managed to get over the line. And case in point are Costa do Sol from Mozambique and Simba, who they beat 1-0 at the National Sports Stadium before succumbing 4-0 out in Dar es Salaam. In this particular game, again, same thing, Barry. Zero intensity in the first half. We saw it then go up in the second half. But this is the team that FC Platinum should have been able to beat comfortably. But it's the team that grew into the match, because let's not forget that Giraffe themselves should have actually scored at least a couple of other goals after taking the lead. Petros Mari had to pull off 2 outstanding saves to deny them what would have been a comfortable victory. So disappointing from FC Platinum. Their fans will be very disappointed with this result, because they lost to a team that they should have beat.
Very disappointing, because according to Mike's assessment, Chris, that ASC Giraffe team should have really been beaten by FC Platinum quite easily, but the lack of intensity. Now, on Costa do Sol and Simba SC in the Champions League, we could assign that, and it looked like it was a cautious approach by Norman Mapeza, who wanted safety first, not concede. Would you agree that this time, was he cautious, or was it that the team just looked lethargic at the beginning of that game?
It's a combination of both, I think. I think if you take a look at, first of all, the players that he started with before he made substitutions, if you take a look at those players are not necessarily the players that we know for scoring goals. If you take a look at Rodwell Chinyengetere, they specifically bought him for their competitions on the continent. They specifically needed someone to be creative out front, to get the goals, and this guy only comes in the 74th minute. So it was generally a lethargic performance right from the start. It almost looked like a practice match. The first half in its entirety almost looked like a practice match, and we only started to see intensity from FC Platinum later on in the second half, when they were chasing the game, like Mike said. So it's a combination of both the team playing almost lethargically, and I'm not sure what to assign that to. Maybe they wanted to control the pace of the game initially and be cautious from that perspective. But for me, this is a team FC Platinum could have beaten and not conceded a goal at all. So it's a disappointing approach from the players and from the coach as well.
Well, the 11 that ran out for pure platinum play looked like this. In goal was Petros Mari. In central defense with Gift Bello and Lawrence Muklanga, a trusted and experienced centre-half pairing. Nomo Chinyerere started at left-back, while Gift Ngweti was at right-back. Kelvin Madzongwe played the sitting role, while Renson Pavari and Brian Banda offered the width in midfield. Donald Teguru, Silas Songani, and Donald Ngoma. Donald Ngoma between the two were the front three. That's how they lined up to begin with. But Norman Mapeza quickly realized that he needed to change something, and that was at half-time, Mike, when he brought on Innocent Mucheneka and Rafael Mudivia for Pavari and Songani respectively. And it seemed to change things, as you quite rightly point out. The intensity went up, the creativity went up, and everything seemed to now be looking more forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his substitutions were spot on in terms of giving his team some impetus, but they weren't able to fashion out clear-cut goal-scoring chances. Innocent Mucheneka came in. He was bright. He was breezy. Things started to happen in midfield. He's very offensive. We know what he can do. We saw him at Chickenene. He's a goal-scoring box-to-box midfielder, and so that was a positive move. Rafael Muduviwa as well started to send in crosses. He was adding a lot of width on the right flank of FC Platinum. And Chinyengetere, when he came on, slow start, but in the last 10 minutes, because he was only on the field for 15 minutes, but in the last 10 minutes of the encounter, he got on the ball and he was able to give FC Platinum a bit of thrust. But the problem, Barry, why it didn't work was the target man, Donald Ngoma. I'm surprised that he managed to play 90 minutes in this encounter. You could tell that Donald Ngoma was simply not working, even in the first half. In the first 20 minutes, he was a yard off the pace. His touch wasn't right. He wasn't holding it up. He was playing in the wrong areas, and he wasn't giving FC Platinum any bite whatsoever in attack. So even when those positive substitutions were made, when Chinyengetere came in with his creativity, when Innocent Mucheneka came in with his guile in midfield, there was no one in the middle to target, because Donald Ngoma had a poor game, and I was surprised to see Stanley Ngala not even involved in the matchday squad, because it meant that Norman Mapeza didn't have a like-for-like replacement on the bench for Donald Ngoma, because for me, I would have pulled out Donald Ngoma at the same time when he pulled out Pavari as well as Silas Songani at halftime and thrown in a Stanley Ngala and saying, listen, go on, son, give us something to hit at the top.
Yeah, give us something to hit, and there certainly wasn't something to hit. And I'm going to add to that, Chris, the fact that in the first half, even there were some good crosses that were sent in by Giffen when he managed to go forward, and those crosses found no one. In fact, one early on in the match flew past the head of Donald Teguru simply because he's a short man. So when Mike says that Donald Ngoma was operating in the wrong areas, he certainly was, because had Donald Ngoma been in the box, at least he'd have got his head to that possible chance. So FC Platinum have got a mountain to climb. Are we being alarmist, or are we going to temper it and say, right, they're still in the game, they've still got an opportunity? Where do you fall, Chris?
I'm going to be a bit of an alarmist. I think it's one thing for you to be at home, to concede a goal, not score, and basically, this is the match that they needed to win. For me, FC Platinum could have capitalized and should have capitalized on this particular match. They're at home, no fans in the stadium. They're able to capitalize on the comfort of basically being at home. And this is the team they could have beaten soundly. They were the better team. If you take a look across the match, FC Platinum was the better team. The fact that they couldn't score is something else, but they were distinctly the better team. Now, going off to Senegal and expecting to be able to score enough goals and not concede and win that particular match, I think is a long shot. If we take a look at yesterday's performance, did they play well? Yes, but you have to win matches, you have to score goals, and they were unable to do that at home. Going off to an almost, I'm just gonna call it a more hostile environment, and expecting FC Platinum to come back with a win, it's a tall order for me.
I beg to differ slightly. I'm not going to write them off because the performances of Giraffe themselves, it gives me hope. This is a team that has lost actually at home. I mean, in their previous encounter, they lost to the Cote d'Ivoire side that they played at home. And then they needed to do a job away from home. So it's a side that is inconsistent. And that should give Norman Mapeza and his charges hope that, you know what, if we put in a good performance in Senegal, we are quite capable of getting a result there. But the problem is they are not in control of that environment in Senegal, just like they were not in control of the environment in Dar es Salaam. We all left the National Sports Stadium thinking that FC Platinum were the better side versus Simba, that they'll be able to go to Tanzania and do the job. But the problem is there's a lot more to African football than just your performance over 90 minutes on the field of play. So if Giraffe make it hostile, if they make it intimidating, if they are disruptive, as teams in West Africa and Central Africa are known to be, then it's going to be a tough ask for Norman Mapeza's team, because we have seen them to be slightly mentally fragile, because we saw them fall apart mentally in Tanzania after they were subjected to all sorts of shenanigans by their host Simba. If there's a repeat of that in Senegal, then this game could actually be lost before the second leg is played.
You know, you're absolutely right, Mike. And listen, let's throw up a clip from Norman Mapeza's pre-match press conference, where he actually addressed that very issue, where he's concerned that the dark arts, the things that happen when a visiting team arrives on the shores of teams, particularly East, West Africa, and all sorts, that those dark arts are beginning to creep back into African football. Let's listen to him, and then we'll talk about this after this.
Look, we need to maximize on our home advantage. You know, the message to the boys have been, look, guys, we need to score goals. Let's get as many goals as we can, because in this two-legged tournaments, if you don't score goals at home, especially, it's going to be difficult here playing away. I think you know the situation in Africa. You saw what happened when we went to Tanzania. You know, if you managed to score goals here, maybe it was going to be a different story. So the message has been clear, guys. Let's go out there. If you can get those goals, let's get them as many as we can.
Norman Professor, they're talking about the fact that CAF needs to be stronger with perpetrators of those dark arts. Mike, I want to stick with you and ask you a question. And if you agree with my assertion, want to also hear how it can be solved by FC Platinum. I felt looking at the players yesterday that there was a lot of match rust on those players, particularly we talked about Donald Ngoma operating in the wrong areas, Renzo Pavari, passes that were available to him, simple passes that would have put him behind the defense. It came up again with Chinyengeteri when he came on. There were passes into the half spaces that weren't taken, and I put it down to rust. If that is the case, that there's a lot of match day rusty because we're not playing football here, how does FC Platinum solve it before the second leg?
Well, one of the things, Barry, that they certainly need to do is just work on the conditioning of their players, because there was a lot of physical lethargy, and they need to have a crash course, 7 days, 5 days, where they try and get themselves up to speed, where they're able to maintain a certain level of intensity over a long period of time. We didn't get that, we didn't get their fullbacks, Barry, bombing down the flanks with energy. We didn't get even Kelvin Madzongwe. He was sort of like safe. I think he had a good game sitting, but we know Kelvin Madzongwe sometimes to actually push up, to actually be the one who gets everything going from central midfield. He's decent. He can actually play as a box-to-box player, but we didn't see that sort of play from Kelvin Madzongwe. So it's something that they can improve on, Barry, by just working on their physical conditioning. I think they've got to take a look at the fact that as a ball-playing side, technically, I think they're better than the Senegalese team. I think they showed up the Senegalese team. FC Platinum has got better footballers, so that shouldn't be an area of concern. What should be an area of concern is the physical aspect of the game, because if you are chasing a game, as they are now, the result that will do for FC Platinum is 2-0 in Senegal. Is it impossible? I don't think it's impossible. Is it easy? No, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. But they need to defend well, and they need to attack as a unit. And for them to do that, they need to be up to scratch physically. So they need to work on their conditioning over the next week to give themselves a better chance. That way they're able to defend as a unit, transition as a unit, attack as a unit.
Now they've got some tough days ahead of them, especially if Mike Madoda had anything to do with their physical conditioning. I think they'll be going. I was a little afraid when you talked about a crash course, Mike. It sounds like it's going to be a boot camp of sorts to get these guys up to physical fitness. But
no, just doing everything they do with a lot more intensity.
Got you. And so more intensity required for that second leg. And I agree with you. Look, in truth, if they just up the intensity and go 90 minutes the way they went in that second half, I think that they'll be able to put this team away quite easily or reasonably. They'll need to be careful, though, because it looks like ASC Giraffe has quite a bit of impact off the bench. In particular, Papa Paye, who came on as a second half substitute. He seemed to run that midfield when it came down to it. So they'll need to be cautious and careful of that, and make sure that they have got some sort of replacement for Donald Ngoma when it comes to the second half, and need to make any changes that are required. This is a player, of course, who's just arrived back at FC Platinum and may not be up to speed with playing matches of this intensity, of this nature, at this level, and may need to get still up to speed. They were pure platinum play, all to do. Can they do it? We certainly think so. Will they do it? Well, we remain to see.
Are we going to end this discussion without talking about Gift Bello and that incredible miss from just 1.5 yards? I mean, people talk about.
I was trying to avoid it.
People talk about the Mugabe miss in Egypt. Yes. That's 1.5 decades ago at the African Cup of Nations. But this one, Barry, it boggles the mind. You've been in that position because you play quite a bit of footy. Tell me, where could it have gone wrong for Gift Bello? For a start, listen, in mitigation, we'll say he's a centre-back, he's a defender. But still, Barry, anyone who can kick a ball in that position should be able to stick it into the back of the net. Was it wrong technique? Should he have gone with his head? Did he rush it? Did he force it? What happened there?
In multiple choice answers, Mike, I'm going to say all of the above, because he didn't know he didn't know he had the time that he had, because he could have actually waited for it to drop down and then hit it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that Robbie Fowler always used to say, a striker, before you finish off a chance, take a breath. Just that half a second gives you the ability to then place it where you want to. The third thing is that he went with the wrong foot. He went with his right foot as opposed to going in with his closing leg, which is his left leg. And in truth, albeit that he's right-footed, his left leg, given where he was underneath the crossbar, there was no way he was going to miss. Had he gone with his left leg and just put it back into the goal, he was scoring that 10 times out of 10. So I think in truth, there was a bit of adrenaline rush, and that sort of took over him.
Well, let's put it to our listeners, Barry, and find out from them which they think is the worst miss. Which was the bigger miss? Gift Bello, FC Platinum versus ASC Giraffe at the National Sports Stadium 2021. Or was it Wilfred Mugay all those years back for the Warriors in that game versus Egypt at the African Cup of Nations? Let us know which you think was the bigger miss.
From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We begin in Melbourne, where Rafael Nadal stayed on course for a record-breaking 21st Grand Slam title after sweeping aside Fabio Fognini to reach his 13th Australian Open quarterfinal. Fognini, who came from 2 sets down to beat Nadal at the US Open in 2015, led by a break in the second set, but lacked the discipline to really challenge the second seed, who eased to a 6-3, 6-4, 6-2 victory. We'll head over to Dublin, where Ireland's Six Nations title aspirations were prematurely ended as France underlined their status as tournament favourites by grinding out a 15-13 win. In other results, Wales made it to 2 wins from 2 as they fought back to beat Scotland 25-24. In London, Anthony Watson scored tries either side of halftime as England registered their first win with a comfortable 41-18 victory over Italy at Twickenham. We'll touch down in Colorado, where Nikola Jokic had 23 points, 16 rebounds and 10 assists as the Denver Nuggets beat the LA Lakers 122-105. The win snapped a 7-game winning streak for the Lakers, who lost Anthony Davis when he aggravated a right Achilles injury.
The beating drum. The roaring fans. Take a ride on the wild side with the Africa Report on ZiFM Sport.
AS Vita Club coach Florent Ibenge has considered that Simba deserved to beat his team in their first match of the CAF Champions League group stage, which was played on Friday night. Despite playing at home, the DRC side suffered a 1-0 defeat against Msimbazi Giants from Tanzania in their Group A fixture. This is something of a surprising outcome, Barry, because the Congolese teams are traditionally very good, very solid whenever they play at home.
Very strong. It's hard to go to the DRC and get a positive result. So in truth, kudos to Simba being able to travel across to AS Vita Club and come out with all 3 points, much less just come out with a draw. But getting all 3 points is the sort of way that you want to start your group stage journey in this tournament. So Simba SC is looking good. I think Florent Ibenge knows, he's a shrewd tactician. He's well experienced. He knows how to fix these sort of things. What he needs to do is fix it and fix it quickly. I suspect he will.
You suspect he will, and he'll have to do so, because I suspect that for the rest of this group stage, they'll have to be playing catch-up. In other results from the weekend, Group B saw another bad result for a Congolese side as TP Mazembe was held to a goalless draw at home by Belouizdad. Mamelodi Sundowns were too good for Al Hilal, winning 2-0 in Pretoria. In Group C action, Horoya of Guinea beat Angola's Petro Luanda 2-0. The fixture between Wydad Casablanca and Kaizer Chiefs was of course postponed, and CAF have come out and say that this tie will now be played in Egypt. This was after Chiefs were denied Moroccan visas due to COVID-19 issues, something that we touched on Friday, Chris. So at least a decision has been made. The tie will be played in Egypt, and the competition will go on as normal, Chris.
Pretty much as normal. I think what we're going to be seeing a lot more from CAF is these very quick decision making, and also this sets a precedent for games that are also in jeopardy due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So great from CAF to pull this together very quickly and get the show on the road, because the show must go on.
In Group D, Zamalek and MC Alger played a goalless draw in Egypt, and Esperance beat Tungeth 2-1.
From Rufaro to Barberfield, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport. All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudent. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles at home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
In England, your Premier League results from this weekend. Burnley with a great away victory over Crystal Palace in London. 3-0 Burnley, walking away with all 3 points. Brighton, 0-0 draw with Aston Villa. Leicester City boss Brendan Rodgers says he was delighted with the manner of the Foxes' 3-1 victory over Liverpool on Saturday. Let's hear the thoughts of former Liverpool manager, now with the Foxes, Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, very proud of the team. I think that probably a year ago, Des, if we would have went behind in the game, we would have been disappointed and not got something from it. But I thought in the first half we had the best chances in the game. We obviously had to withstand pressure, and obviously they have good quality. But once we got through the pressure, we had some really good chances. I said to the players at half time, we needed to be more aggressive in the game. I felt that it was too passive at times when we were defending, and I thought in the second half we were much better in our defensive aggression, and then that allows you then to attack the game with more aggression as well. And we scored obviously the 3 goals, and the players adapted really well. We had a plan in terms of if we were behind in the game, that the shape that we would go to, and the players worked it brilliantly and got the goals. Yeah. So yeah, really happy.
Mike, you got to say it was heartbreaking on Saturday afternoon for Liverpool fans watching. You could almost say the capitulation, because it looked like the game was in Liverpool's hands for long periods of that game. But one goal from a free kick by Maddison seemed to affect Liverpool, and from there it sort of unraveled.
Yeah, I think it speaks of the very fragile state of Liverpool's mindset at the moment. They're falling apart at moments where they look either comfortable, as they looked versus Man City, where there was very little to separate the sides, and then when a mistake was made, they capitulated versus City. We saw the same thing again versus Leicester City. Liverpool absolutely dominant over 75 minutes of this game. Looked like, in truth, by half-time they should have been far away, should have cashed in. Like we talked about FC Platinum being comfortable in games and they're not cashing in. That's what happened to Liverpool. They didn't cash in. They went ahead deservedly. That goal scored by Mohamed Salah, fantastic assist by Bobby Firmino. That pirouette that he did in the box, showing that he is Brazilian. And then Leicester came back into the game. And when they came into the game, it's almost like Liverpool just say to themselves, oh, here we go again. Heads dropped and the belief was lost. And then Leicester went on to win the game. And we can talk about Liverpool, but we must also talk about Leicester, because Leicester are staying in the hunt. They are playing they didn't play swashbuckling football, make no mistake about it. I think the bigger sides will always have the measure of Leicester because of the quality that they have in terms of personnel. But in terms of their tactical approach and the man in the dugout, Brendan Rodgers, the work that he's putting in, the way he's setting up his stall and organizing his team, he's doing an absolutely fantastic job. After that disastrous time that he spent, the last season he spent as Liverpool manager, and he had to go out and rebuild his reputation, going to Scotland, putting in the hard yards at Celtic. You've got to say, Barry, that he's come full circle. He has managed to restore his reputation. He's one of the brightest young managers going around right now, not just in England, but in European football.
He certainly is, and that's talking very big about a man who's done the business. And Chris, you got to say that the weekend worked out pretty nicely for Leicester City, because later on Sunday, in fact, yesterday, Manchester United drawing 1-1 with West Bromwich Albion, meaning that Leicester and Manchester United are in second and third, Manchester United in second and then Leicester in third, but on equal on points, and Leicester City is certainly in the hunt, aren't they?
So brilliant for Leicester. I think what we're seeing here is that Leicester will definitely look more likely to qualify for the Champions League than they did last season, where Manchester United basically tipped them on the last match day. So I think it's going to be looking more like Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea fighting it out for the last two positions in terms of qualification. But for Leicester City, they definitely look like a shoo-in.
Yeah, rebuilding of a managerial career there that we're watching all before our eyes. Brendan Rodgers looking for good value at the Foxes. In other results, Southampton upended at home 2-1 by Wolves. Arsenal looking imperious against Leeds. Leeds coming into it in the second half, but the match ending 4-2 in favour of the Gunners. And then Everton beaten by Fulham 2-0. A Fulham side that looked absolutely good value for their win. It could have been a lot more. But the champions in waiting, oh my goodness, Manchester City. Ilkay Gundogan's incredible scoring run continued with 2 goals in Manchester City's stylish 3-0 win over Tottenham, as Pep Guardiola's side pulled 7 points clear at the top of the table. Mike, I think, Mike, it's less to do with, we know that Manchester City plays good football, but I think it's the facile nature with which they're turning over the top 6 sides that's making us realize that this team is looking absolutely brilliant.
I think style, Barry, has never been Pep Guardiola's problem. Pep Guardiola's side always play very attractive football, always very attacking, always dominate possession. But this Man City side, if you take a look at the statistics, it's the defense that's carrying them to the title. And Sir Alex Ferguson once famously said that, listen, attacks, strikers will win you games, but defenses will win you titles. And that's the adage that rings true with the City side, because they have conceded just 14 goals in the 23 matches that they have played. The next best defense, Barry, you're taking a look at Chelsea, I think, who have conceded 24 goals, as well as Aston Villa, 24 goals. So that's 10 more goals than City have conceded. Their challenges, their immediate challenges, Man City, 31. They've conceded more than double the amount of goals that City has conceded. If you take a look at Leicester, 26, that's 12 more goals. So that is the difference right now in terms of where games are being won, because Man United is scoring just as many goals as Man City when it comes to their matches, but they're letting goals in. So in this game where Man United drew with West Brom 1-1, City would have won that game 1-0 because City wouldn't have conceded. In matches where United is winning 3-2 or drawing 3-3, City is managing to get the job done. So the defense is absolutely fantastic, and that they did what they did this past weekend with the best defender in the league on the bench in Ruben Diaz just speaks testament to the amount of depth that they have. They bring in Laporte, who just 2 seasons ago people were saying is just as good as Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at it, Manchester United actually scoring more than City. They've scored 40 goals this season. Man City has only scored 46, 4 less than United. But as you quite rightly point out, it's the defense that wins you championships. Chris, am I going overboard by saying champions in waiting when it comes to Manchester City?
I don't think it's over the top at all. I think Manchester City is leading by quite a chunk. They still have a game in hand. They're looking absolutely solid. The competition looks like it's more for positions 2, 3, and 4 than it is for that very top spot.
Absolutely, it's a battle for 2, 3, and 4. Important because those are Champions League qualification positions in England. Man City sitting at the top of the table with a 7-point advantage over Manchester United. With the game in hand, you got to think to yourself that it will likely turn into a 10-point advantage, in which case I think the fat lady will certainly be clearing her throat if she hasn't started belting out a few notes already. Tonight's games in the Premier League, West Ham United takes on Sheffield United, while Chelsea hosts Newcastle.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
Castle Lager is more than just beer. It's pure liquid gold, crafted from the finest local ingredients to deliver a taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, but never sweet. It's the taste that stood the test of time. It all comes together with a castle.
Heading into Italy now, your results from Serie A this past weekend. Bologna and Benevento drew 1-1. Torino and Genoa 0-0 draw there. And Roma thumping Udinese 3-0. Internazionale's Romelu Lukaku scored twice to set up another goal as they beat visitors Lazio 3-1 to move a point above AC Milan at the top of the Serie A standings. Inter coach Antonio Conte has urged his side to keep fighting after they went top of Serie A.
Sicuramente questo deve portare entusiasmo,
Certainly, this must bring enthusiasm, because we know the kind of work we're doing, that we did, and we will have to do. That said, this must be a starting point. It is definitely not the conclusion. We have the ambition to fight for important goals, because anyone who coaches or plays for a team like Inter Milan, in light of its history, at the very least, the ambition has to be to aim for the biggest goal. Sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't. But I think we've been doing this since last year, and the objective is to make our supporters proud by giving everything on the pitch.
Barry, you take a look at Inter. They've been playing well. They've had a pretty consistent run of results. And the outcome of this is obviously that they're now sitting on top of Serie A, albeit it's by a single point.
Yeah, look, Inter has always been the one, and I think it was Mike who said, this is nearly a month ago or more, who said that it looked like Inter was the one likely to make a charge for the Scudetto, which seemed at that stage all in the hands of AC Milan. I think AC Milan is still there with a title shout, but Inter, it's the consistency that Antonio Conte has been able to extract out of these players, and that's notwithstanding the fact that he's had the absence of his mainline strike partnership in inverted commas, where they haven't been able to be a pair in some games. He's still been able to see the side over the line. So I think this is just a statement victory over a Lazio side that's very good. You've got lots of talent in there with Lazio, who played a good game in truth, but Inter just had that extra gear to engage in this game, and that just shows that they've got that extra gear that they could engage, not just for games, but for the entire championship.
And speaking of AC Milan, Spezia dropped the Serie A giant with a dominant display in a 2-0 victory on Saturday. Cagliari going down against Atalanta 1-0. Sampdoria won 2-1 against Fiorentina, and Sassuolo beat Crotone 2-1. Lorenzo Insigne's first half penalty earned Napoli a 1-0 home win over Juventus as a first defeat in 8 in all competitions left the champions 8 points behind league leaders Inter Milan. It's looking a little interesting on the Serie A table, Mike. Juventus are 8 points behind now. Do they still have a realistic chance of making a title charge? And if they do, so do Napoli, who've just won against Juventus.
Yeah, I think Juventus are still in the hunt. They've got a game in hand on Inter, and should they win that game in hand, there'll be 5 points. It's still not going to be as easy as in previous seasons, because Inter are looking very workmanlike in their approach to this season. We saw the way they played against Lazio. Lazio played a very good game, but Antonio Conte was almost playing the season where he wanted the result. It was not about swashbuckling football. It was not about entertainment. It was just about making sure that they capitalized on the counter and got the goals that they needed, and they got 3 goals versus Lazio and got all 3 points. So this is going to be a very tough season for Juventus, because there are many good sides. If you go back all the way down to number 7, Lazio themselves are not out of the hunt as far as Champions League places are concerned. So Juventus will need, first of all, to secure Champions League football before they start trying to chase down Inter Milan.
So it's going to be about that Champions League qualification. So let's take a look at how that top 7, like Mike mentioned, is looking. You've got Inter at the top, AC Milan in 2nd, AS Roma in 3rd, Juventus in 4th, Napoli in 5th, Atalanta in 6th, Lazio in 7th. We also have some Serie A action tonight. Hellas Verona will be up against Parma.
Let's go to Spain now as we wrap up the show. Your results out of La Liga. Celta Vigo 3-1 winners over Elche. Sevilla 1-0 victors over Huesca. Aiba and Real Valladolid played out a 1-1 draw, while Getafe lost 1-0 to Real Sociedad at home. Osasuna, a great road victory of 1-0 over Levante. And Villarreal upended at home 2-1 by Real Betis. Real Madrid moved into 2nd place in La Liga with a 2-0 victory at home to Valencia. That will do well for their confidence going into a title tilt, as it were, to try and upstage Atletico Madrid. But Atletico Madrid are looking absolutely imperious because they overcame conceding a second-half equalizer to score again and beat Granada 2-1 away from home as they got back to winning ways. But the story of the weekend, you got to say, Chris, has got to be Lionel Messi. He scored twice, 2 scorching strikes as Barcelona hammered Alaves 5-1 on Saturday to warm up their upcoming Champions League clash with Paris Saint-Germain in style. You got to say to yourself that Lionel Messi looked like he was back to his best against Alaves. He was imperious.
He was the Lionel Messi, look, he's still the Lionel Messi we know and love, but we saw in that particular match the old, imperious, brilliant Lionel Messi. And fingers crossed, this Lionel Messi is here to stay at least for the rest of the season with Barcelona.
Yeah, the rest of the season with Barcelona, because, as you know, his contract is running out and he might just be moving to their Champions League opponents this coming week, Paris Saint-Germain. As I said, we're out of time, so we got to go. We will catch you tomorrow for our Top Hit Tuesday. The Champions League is back, but tonight there is action. Cadiz takes on Athletic Club in La Liga. In the Bundesliga, quick wrap of your results very quickly. Bayer Leverkusen 2-2 draw with Mainz. Werder Bremen 0-0 with Freiburg. Stuttgart 1-1 draw with Hertha Berlin. Borussia Dortmund striker Erling Haaland scoring in an 81st minute equalizer to rescue a 2-2 draw against visitors Hoffenheim. And then Dani Olmo scored a penalty at the second attempt as dominant RB Leipzig eased to a 2-1 victory over Augsburg. As we said on Friday, Bayern Munich take on Arminia Bielefeld tonight. So that's all we have time for. We will catch you tomorrow. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Menande, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.